Don't you have anything better to do?
So I was playing Wasteland 3. I have always been a huge fan of the original Fallout games, and Wasteland 3 is probably the closest a game has come to capturing that feeling of the original Fallouts. The game is praised for a number of things, from the tough decisions you end up having to make, to the eclectic set of factions, as well as the satisfying combat system. There are moments in Wasteland 3 also, Aspen, that legitimately had me saying out loud to myself, "Oh, that is messed up, man." But in a good way. Anyway, as much as I would like to just gush about how Wasteland 3 is just thoroughly excellent, I don't think I would add anything that would be meaningfully all that different to, any other reviewer or commentator out there. Except for this.
Communist?
At some point in the game, you are tasked to go to Denver, and like a good little ranger, you go there, checking things out. You're then forced into this scene where you meet the Gippers for the first time.
Such manners. Disrespect like that will only make us move slower.
Now, all of this is pretty standard fare for this kind of game. You come up on some chumps, you have some form of dialogue-y interaction with them that gives you choices that allow you to express your character within the game's world. But what's abnormal about this specific interaction, however, lies in how it would appear to use the reputation system so frivolously. Normally, the reputation system is triggered as a result of completing quests.
You talked to her. Oh God, you could have sold me out, but you didn't. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Or if it is used as a result of a dialogue choice, that choice will generally have immediate and significant ramifications. So think choosing whether someone lives or dies, or being forced to make a choice then and there about who to save or which faction you are going to side with.
You may think you're helping the refugees, but you're not.
In this instance, though, there are 3 separate dialogue choices, one after the other, that are deemed significant enough to ping the reputation system, despite not having a meaningful impact on how that faction ends up feeling about you, or any sort of gameplay progression.
As for the hippie.
President Reagan, welcome to the shining... First of all, I didn't kill it. Ronnie did. Second, the will of the God President is not to be questioned.
And I think it is here that In Exile did something brilliant in terms of game language. So if we strip this interaction of all, sort of real writing, this is how it looks. You can say a good thing about Reagan, say a bad thing / question Reagan, or be neutral. Functionally, none of these have any mechanical benefit to the player, the story, or any of the factions. The difference at the end of this is a change of plus or minus 3 points of reputation, so this first interaction doesn't even have a significant bearing on changing how this faction feels about the Rangers. So to repeat, there is no functional reason to do this, and yet, it is here anyway. The question then becomes why? Well, this is where we must look at games as not just a series of mechanics, choices, and simulations, but as works of art, where the mechanics themselves have meaning. And I'm sorry to say this, but we might have to get a little bit political at what is totally a very completely not political game. What is happening, to the best of my reading, is that the Gippers are a bunch of fascist losers.
Fools! The gods of the sky will devour you.
Thus is justice done in America. God bless us, and God bless God President Reagan.
And one of the, personality traits of a fascist, or fascism, is this sense of ultra-nationalism that dictates that any negativity, or anything that is not just blind faith to the nation or to the leader, is essentially an attack. So for these people, these Gippers, saying something nice about Reagan is as good as completing a quest for them. But simply questioning him is as significant as killing one of their members. Look, I may have been overselling the equivalence of those two things, but again, that's the difference between 1 and 15 reputation. But I think the point still stands, right? Anyway, for other factions and for most normal people, it's the actions and results of actions that have value. But for fascists, words, posture, and aesthetics are in many ways equivalent. You can sort of see this when you interrogate or question other leaders in the game, or even the minions of leaders. The reputation system doesn't get pinged for trivialities, for asking questions. They generally are always just the result of, again, quests, murdering, and things like that.
Contaminated with the correct amount of prejudice, I hope.
So, even though there is no benefit or real consequence for adding the reputation system to this interaction, the reason why it is here, at least in my estimation, is to make it absolutely clear with game language that these guys are a bunch of fascists, by lowering the bar for pinging the reputation system from the direct result of actions or significant choices to the more frivolous dialogue choice for this specific faction. The game makes it clear that the Gippers are incredibly insecure about their collective identity.
It's an all-American ass-kicking war machine! Yeehaw!
The writing, of course, does the bulk of the work here, but just how fashy these guys are hits a lot harder by the use of the reputation system. Exposing this national insecurity so early in our interaction with these people also has the side benefit of essentially manipulating you into being much more cautious in how you handle dialogue within Denver. Because there's always that nagging thought that what you say will have an effect where it otherwise would not.
A mutiny, huh? That's a shame. You have to keep your crew paid, Rangers.
It's this little detail, this tiny use of a mechanic that makes me love video games as a medium of expression. There is an established language with reputation systems. They're used predominantly to convey how factions within a game feel about the player's actions, and so are triggered when something of significance occurs. Wasteland 3 exploits this connection with significance to convey how thin-skinned the Gippers are to the player by using it when it shouldn't really matter. It's a small thing, and probably overshadowed by all of the other stuff going on in the game. But it is there.
They call me the Wyman around here, but I prefer Duck. Well, ain't you polite? Thank you.
And the reputation mechanic is not unique to Wasteland 3. It is in plenty of other games. The original Fallout had the reputation system, and like in Wasteland 3, it is probably used in very subtle ways to convey something a little bit more meaningful.
Good job, Rangers.